What's going on, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today's guest will be making his UFC debut at UFC 286 on March 18th. Now, just a reminder to the US fans, this pay-per-view is a little different. 5 p.m. Eastern start time for the main card for the pay-per-view. So look at the time changes before you go and you watch the fight. So you're not going out at 10 o'clock at night or something like that. You're going to miss out on everything. Anyway, without any further ado, pleased today to be joined by Sam Patterson. Sam, thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
So, Sam, right, it is your UFC debut. Let's start right there. I mean, has this all sunk in that you're here, you're in the UFC, and just kind of what are the emotions like here ahead of the debut?
Yeah, I'm excited to be honest. It's very close now. I can actually get excited. I've tried to maintain my excitement levels over the weeks building up. I didn't want to get too excited too early, but we are here now. It is 9 days away. I am in the best shape of my life. I am prepared to the best of my ability, and yeah, I look forward to going out there and performing, and to get to do that for the UFC in my hometown is, yeah, it's what dreams are made of. I am very excited to go out there and perform next Saturday.
And have you gotten any advice from anybody, whether it be a coach or a former fighter or anybody, as to what to expect for this debut or anything related to nerves or feelings or anything like that?
No, I haven't, because I'm going to experience my experience. Like, even if your coaches or people around you tell you what it's going to be like, that's from their point of view. I I'm going to go experience it from my point of view and embrace every single second of it. This ain't my first time. Like, this is going to be the biggest stage for me. Obviously, don't get me wrong, but I believe my next fight is always the biggest stage. So yeah, I just look forward to showing up fight week, embracing every single second, and then going out there and doing what I love to do, and fight.
And when you get to go out there and fight, you get to do it at the O2 Arena, obviously a massive venue over there in London. Just how excited are you to fight at the O2?
Yeah, it's massive. I'm more excited to fight in my hometown. Like, being home, it's been 4 years since I fought in the UK, and to come home and fight for the biggest organization in the world, um, in my hometown, it's like, that's what I'm looking forward to. And the fact that it's in the O2, it's just even bigger. More people get to come watch me fight. It's a big crowd. It's a home crowd. And yeah, like, the more I feel like, when people ask me questions and stuff like that, I start to think and I get all excited, like I will be able to. The thing is, I'm very comfortable and smart enough to know that I can channel those emotions and that excitement. And yeah, I'm just ready to go and embrace the moment in front of a home crowd in the O2 Arena.
And it's funny, right? As you get to these bigger stages, I'm sure everybody's probably going to start hitting you up for different stuff. The fact that this fight's only 45 minutes away or a 45-minute train ride from your hometown, do you have a lot of people reaching out that want things signed or they want to see if they could get tickets to things or anything like that?
Yeah, to be honest, I was actually really, before I got before the tickets went on sale and stuff, I was like really excited to have like my home crowd come support me, and like having all the people that have said over the years, oh, when you fight back in the UK, we'll come support. But when the tickets got released and how expensive they were, I was kind of like, wow, like, I don't expect anyone to come like pay that kind of money to come watch. It's a very high amount. But it's a pay-per-view event, so I don't blame the UFC for doing it, obviously. But yes, I had a lot of people, once they found out the prices of the tickets, a lot of people were reaching out to me to go, oh, Sam, can you get, I don't get no more than anyone else. You know what I mean? So I weren't able to help them and hook them up, but everyone will tune in. That's the main thing. Like, everyone, there is a few people coming, but everyone can tune in and watch me fight, regardless if they're going to be there in person. They will tune in and watch me fight.
Yeah, and I'm sure whether a lot of your close friends get to go or not or anything like that, I mean, it's going to be filled with plenty of people rooting on you just from being from the home country there. And I wanted to ask you too, just about the European fans in general, because it seems like you guys have the best fans. Not gonna lie, every fighter that I've ever interviewed has said there's been nothing like going over, to Europe somewhere, whether it be in Ireland or over to the UK or anywhere over there, because the fans are just not only so nice, but just the passion that they bring, the energy inside the arena really is something. What is it about you guys over that makes you guys so passionate and just you hear all those different chants? It makes the event really such a magical event.
I think it's like a couple of things. Like, I think we're true fighters. Like, everyone in the UK and like on the European scene are just, they love to fight. And when you go to watch fight events, I think they all get excited. But I also believe that it's the fact the amount of times they come to the European scene. It's not on every weekend over here. So when it's like last year was twice a year, but before that, it's been once a year the UFC comes. So it's like Christmas. Once a year, we celebrate Christmas. Like everyone gets excited for that one day. That's what it's like with the UFC and people that are fighting fans. When the UFC comes once a year, it's like that. So you can imagine how passionate people are and excited. And to be honest, the UK show up. You know what I mean? The European side, we show up and fight. So maybe sometimes it's not the most technical stuff, but you are in for a show when the UK fighters are on the card. You know, and I believe the skill level and everything and the card we got coming next Saturday will be no different. It's going to be massive, and yeah, it's going to be a rowdy O2 arena, and I can't wait.
All right, man. Let's talk about travel stuff here now. So we mentioned before, right? A 45-minute train ride for you to get to this. Typically, for fighters, mainly really any fighter in a different country other than the United States here, travel could be a bit of a pain, right? You got to go out and get visas. You have long plane rides, baggage check-ins, trying to get situated to a different time zone. All of that not on the table here for this. How much does that make your job easier that you don't have to go through with any of that stuff?
It's actually going to be a shock to the system. You know, it's been 4 years since I've done this. Like, I've got used to and accustomed to traveling the world and fighting. So, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of obstacles when you're fighting abroad. Like when you're cutting weight and water loading and stuff, and you've got to get on a plane for 7, 8 hours and stuff. All these little things. Other countries having different foods that you ain't used to. There's nothing like fighting in your hometown, and that's those little things that make you comfortable are just one less thing to stress about on fight week. And I look forward to just enjoying a fight week in my hometown, being around. Like you said, for me, it's a 45-minute train ride into London, and yeah, I think going to the airport's longer than 45 minutes in the UK. You know what I mean? So it's going to be very comfortable for me. Takes away the stress of any checking in bags, making sure the suitcase is under a certain limit, and water loading on a plane. I don't have to deal with that this time. I can just show up fight week and focus on getting the weight off and focus on the job at hand.
All right, so one more question to ask before we really get into the bulk of this UFC 286 card here. You mentioned, right, you're so used to traveling the world and different stuff like that. Well, the Brave promotion has been a pretty steady home for you. Great promotion, and a lot of great fighters have come out of that promotion. Just what was the experience like of fighting within that promotion, and how do you think it kind of helped you for this now UFC journey that you're on?
Yeah, I believe it's built me into the fighter I am today. You know, like a lot of people build up and pad out their career, and then when they get to the UFC, you don't get a choice about who you're fighting. The best fight the best is the best in the world versus the best in the world. So if you have padded your career outside the UFC, you're pretty fucked when it comes to being in the UFC. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. I
You could
apologize.
say it. Yeah, you're good.
Um, yeah, you're pretty screwed when you get into the UFC. Whereas being in Brave, you can look at my previous opponents, my resume, so to speak, and you can see that I have not pick and choose my opponents. I have faced arguably some of the best outside of the UFC, and yeah, that has got me to the point I am today, where I am prepared to step in there against anyone and be in the UFC. And that's why for the last couple of fights I've turned around and said I am UFC caliber, is because I've been facing the higher level outside the UFC. So when this moment come around, I wouldn't be out of my depth or in shock that I'm fighting an undefeated fighter or a higher ranked savage. You know what I mean? Like I'm prepared and I'm ready for it. I've fought all styles in Brave, and thankfully I've come out on top on most of them. So I can't go. I'm not really complaining. It was a great organization. It got me the opportunity to travel the world, and now I'm in the UFC. I look forward to making a career in the UFC and traveling the world with the biggest organization in the world.
All right, man, let's get in these fight specifics now here for you. Training camp, you're starting to wrap things up, put the final touches on it. I would say probably the heavy bulk of camp is pretty much done at the time of recording this. Just how's your camp been going so far, and how you feeling, right ahead of fight night now?
Yeah, I'm honestly in the best. Everyone says it. I'm in the best shape of my life. Yeah, yeah. I actually am in the best shape of my life because this camp I've smashed all, like I've broken records from previous camps, like my fastest 5K, like my fight circuits I do, things I do in fight camp. I've smashed all personal best. I've hit new levels, and yeah, it's been a hard 12 weeks. Boxing Day, I actually started my fight camp, so I enjoyed Christmas Day, and then Boxing Day we got to work, and yeah, it's been a solid 12 weeks. I normally only do 10 because I train so much anyway, so I don't want to overtrain, and yeah, the last 2 weeks I've been, or the last however long, the last 12 weeks, I feel I've got sharper and sharper every single week. And yeah, we're on the finishing touches now. I ain't getting any fitter. Literally, I am at the fittest I possibly could be. I am well prepared. And when you're that prepared, you are confident in your ability to go and perform. So yeah, I'm very confident and ready for next week.
All right, now with all that being said, let's talk about your opponent now here a little bit. Just what have you seen out of him as you've been scouting him, and what are you expecting out of him on fight night?
Yeah, I expect a tough, durable guy that's coming to make his UFC debut, the same as me, that's going to have that mindset, like he's coming to make a statement. He's going to come with that energy. As far as he goes, I haven't got looked too much into him because his last fight was a year ago. And if he's made the improvements I've made in a year, he ain't the same fighter as he was then. And that's how I approach it. Because if I look at that fight, his last fight, if I look at my fight from a year ago, I would absolutely kill that Sam. Like, you know what I mean? From a year ago, the Sam I am today would kill that Sam. So I'm going into this fight prepared for the hardest, toughest fight of my life, which I do every single fight. And I expect the best Yanal to show up and be a good dance partner for me.
Yeah, man, I can tell you're definitely mentally dialed into this fight too, as well. And I guess just one other thing related to this, I guess we kind of opened, talking a lot about different things about just travel and everything like that. And we had mentioned about the European fans being so great. Do you envision anything about this fight? Like, do you envision going out there, getting a finish, or even just getting your hand raised and the fans yelling and screaming and everything? Like, do you have a vision of post fight, or are you just so dialed in on just going in and taking care of business here? You're not thinking of any of that after stuff.
I am dialed in. I don't look past those 15 minutes on March 18th. You know what I mean? I don't, whether I've got plans after or anything, I am so focused on that date. Nothing matters to me after that. So yeah, I am fully focused. I do visualize, like that's something I do during camp, and as part of my training, I believe the mind is the strongest weapon. So yeah, I have visualized many scenarios of how this fight goes. I've visualized fight week. I've visualized the walkout, and like over 12 weeks, you have so many visualizations, and they're all different. But the only thing I've had in common in every single one is the fact I'm embracing the moment and my hand is raised. They're the only two things that are common in every single visualization I've had in the build up to the event. So I plan on going out there, embracing the moment, and getting my hand raised.
All right, so this time of the year, any fighter that fights in January, February, March, I like to ask this question because it puts you guys in a great spot in that first quarter of the year. You can get a few fights booked. I know a lot of fighters want to stay active. I know you said, right, just dialed in on this 15-minute contest coming up here at UFC 286, but do you have plans for the year? Is there like a certain number of fights you want to get in or anything along those lines?
Yeah, there is. Like, obviously, I am focused on the date, my next fight. That's all that matters. But yeah, of course, I have a plan for the year. I ideally want 3 fights this year. I want 3 fights, at least one bonus. That's kind of my what I set myself at the beginning of the year, the target, and I think that's very reasonable in the UFC now. Like, I'm fine for the biggest organization in the world. I believe 3 fights over the year gives me enough time to be in the, because I don't take time off. Like, I'll rest for a couple I'm back in the gym straight away, leveling up my skills, which I will be after this one. So it gives me enough time to fight, get back in the gym for a month or so, improve my skills. So and then go back into a training camp. So the next fight, I'm better than the previous fight. You know what I mean? That's been my mindset over the last 10 years. So that will be no different. And I believe 3 fights, it gives me that kind of month after the fight to obviously recover from the one I've just done, improve my skill set, help my teammates prepare for their fights, and then get back slowly edge back into training camp. So yeah, ideally I'm looking at 3 fights this year. When they're going to be, I don't know, but the UFC they're always whacking out cards and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They come back last year, they come to the UK in July. So if they've done that again, that could be perfect time in end of July, August, and then obviously one at the end of the year. But let's get this one done first. And yeah, if it all comes to plan, everything goes to plan, 3 fights, at least one bonus. I say at least because I wouldn't be angry at 3 bonuses, but at least one bonus and 3 victories this year.
All right, now just one last thing to close things out here today. So main event, I have to ask you about it. It has a lot of fans excited, and it's funny, right? When they fought the last time, I always tell the story. Usually for pay-per-view events, me and my dad go out to a bar together, and for that fight, right, Kamaru's up 3 rounds to 1. Everybody's just kind of figuring like, well, yeah, okay, he's gonna cruise his way on to another win. You could literally probably hear a pin drop in this bar. Everybody's just kind of boringly watching it. Then the head kick heard
Bang.
around the world happens. The place erupts. The rest is history. Obviously, massive win for Leon there. A lot of fans super, super, super excited now to see this trilogy here. Trilogies are rare in itself. Obviously, given everything that happened the last time, everybody has all these questions. Is it going to happen again? What's Kamaru's mindset going to be like after getting knocked out? How's Leon now? Is he overconfident? A lot of questions going to be answered here in the main event of UFC 286. Just want to get your thoughts on that main event and just kind of how you see things playing out there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it just popped to my mind. Actually, sitting there watching the fight, the second fight, and I watched the fights as a fan, and then I watched it back and like study it. And when I was watching it as a fan, I was dialed in, dialed in, dialed in. Then got to the 5th round, and then I'm kind of like watching it, but I'm also talking to my missus at the same time. Like you kind of see where it's going, and then bang, that happened. And I remember the moment of like I felt like true happiness for Leon, and that's something that just popped to my mind when you said about people counting them out and stuff like that. But this time around, like you said, there's so many questions, and I truly believe Leon is the best in the world at the moment, across the board. Like as a mixed martial artist, I believe he's the best in the world. And again, the main question really is, how does Usman come back after being knocked out like that? It's not even just Usman. How does anyone come back from being knocked out like that? Some people come back great and better. Some people don't. So that's the biggest question, really. Skill for skill. Yeah, I believe Leon gets the job done this time. I'm being biased a bit, but like I said, I believe he's the more complete mixed martial artist. But I look forward to getting my fight done, completing my media obligations, grabbing a bit of cake, and sitting back and watching it as a fan like everyone else.
Yeah, can't wait to see the main event. Can't wait to see your fight. Can't wait to see this whole card. It's going to be a great night of fights for everybody. Thanks for the time today, man. Last thing before you head out, social media so people know where to follow you at. Any management, sponsorships, anything like that. You got a plug. Floor is yours.
Yeah, just head over to my Instagram. It's Sam Patterson 155. I post all my sponsors and everything on there on a daily basis and throughout the week. And just a massive thank you to my team and everyone that's been a part of this training camp and put their bodies on the line, their time on the line. It hasn't gone unnoticed. And when I win on March 18th, we win on March 18th. So tune in. It's going to be a great show.